I know. But it's fast, not gonna be long lasting. It's talking about how long it takes to open. It's fast because it opens quickly. Okay, during ventricular filling, now you on the exam you would have the diagram with the pressures on there, okay? But without that, you can still figure it out. If the ventricles are filling, what valves have to be open? Atrioventricular valves have to be open. What pressure is greater to keep those valves open?
Aortic pressure.
Atrio is greater than ventricular.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
While the ventricles are filling, are the semilunar valves open or closed?
Closed.
Closed. And so what pressure keeps the semilunar valves closed? Aortic pressure. So which one is it?
Aortic pressure is greater than atrial pressure, greater than ventricular. E.
Should be A, D.
E.
E.
Oh, no, E.
Mix them up. It's a little tricky, but yeah, D.
Okay, so aortic pressure is greater than ventricular pressure. That keeps the semilunar valves closed. And atrial pressure is greater than ventricular pressure, and that's our open AV valves.
Why did the aortic pressure be higher than
Keep this in mind.
Otherwise, the blood would not flow. Aortic pressure is the blood leaving the heart. And it doesn't, for this case, it has to be higher than ventricular because blood is flowing into the heart, not out of the heart. It's always higher than atrial because blood is leaving versus coming into. So we have to have a pressure gradient. Okay, during ventricular, what am I doing here? When the atrioventricular valves close, what pressure closes them?
Ventricular pressure.
Ventricular pressure. So now ventricular pressure has to be greater than
Atrial.
atrial pressure.
Which greater than
So
aortic.
are the semilunar valves still closed at this time?
Open.
Possible.
Yes.
Oh, which one?
So we're in isovolumetric
Contraction.
contraction.
Beginning. The beginning of it?
So aortic pressure is still greater, yes, the beginning of it. Aortic pressure is, we're at this point right here. Now the AV valves have closed. It's ventricular pressure that closes that. So we flip atrial pressure and ventricular pressure. But aortic pressure still has to be higher than ventricular because our semilunar valves are still closed.
But it doesn't say that in the question. It just says.
It says when the atrioventricular valves close. So when they close, the semilunar valves,
Okay, yeah, we can put out when.
yeah,
But it could be closed with the aortic valve open.
yes,
But you have to leave it.
yeah, when they close.
I would've got
Or
wrong.
during isovolumetric contraction would be another way of saying
I
it.
would've just said A. I would've gotten it wrong.
When the semilunar valves open. So now what pressure changes this? What pressure is opening the semilunar valves?
Ventricular pressure is
Ventricular
greater
pressure.
than aortic pressure.
Okay, so when the semilunar valves open, are the AV valves closed or open? They're
Closed.
still closed, okay? So our ventricular pressure is still going to be greater than atrial pressure to keep the AV valves closed. And now it's going to be greater than aortic pressure because we've opened the aortic
A.
valves.
C?
Because atrial has to be greater than aortic.
Atrial can never be greater than aortic.
Which
Remember?
one?
So ventricular pressure is greater than aortic, that's pushing the blood out the aorta. And ventricular pressure is greater than atrial, and that's keeping the AV valves closed. You can never have atrial pressure greater than aortic because that messes up our gradient for blood flow. Remember I said, just cross out the ones wherever I have atrial greater than aortic. It's not life compatible. Atrial pressure is always down here, Gretchen. It's never higher than aortic.
What is that considered? Okay, so when semilunar is open, okay, so ventricle pressure,
Ventricular pressure is pushing open the aortic valves, and it's pushing closed the AV valves.
okay.
All right, last one on this. During ventricular ejection,
Is it isovolumetric? Is it that?
it never
Ventricular.
exists.
Greater.
Oh.
Oh, okay, you got backwards. It is greater than both of them, but now it's not greater than that one. So it's
What was the
C.
last one?
It's C then.
Same thing. Ventricular ejection begins when the semilunar valves
So
open.
aortic,
Pay attention to
atrial,
that in the test, or I'm gonna give up.
Look at your
Good
pictures.
points.
Look at the pictures. Okay?
ventricular.
So ventricular ejection begins
with
as
ventricular.
soon as the semilunar valves are open. So the same valve situation exists. So the answer is still C. Okay? All right, so here are some questions dealing with the blood supply, blood vessels, and drainage. These are short answers. You can see them as multiple choice questions as well. So, which of the following veins join together to form the superior vena cava? A, B, C, D. Right? So I have them here as, put them all on one page, as short answers, but it could be done either way. So what two veins join together to form the superior vena cava?
Brachiocephalic?
No, brachiocephalic veins. All right, what two veins join together to form the brachiocephalic? The Clavian and
Internal jugular, or the
there's no common carotid vein.
jugular?
Internal jugular vein. Okay, so here's the internal jugular vein and the subclavian forming the brachiocephalic on each side, and here the two brachiocephalics form the superior vena cava. Okay, popliteal vein is formed by the union of the
Anterior,
anterior
posterior,
and
tibial.
posterior tibial veins. So here's our popliteal vein. Here's the anterior tibial vein coming in from the anterior aspect. Here's our posterior tibial vein. The two come together, and at that point, we have the beginning of the popliteal vein. None of this, if any of mine changes here, and misspells popliteal.
You still would have got credit. Only one letter.
One letter. Thank you, thank you.
Is grade
What about
up in
this
the
small?
picture?
Yes, starting, right, well, that's posterior tibial. It's shown right there.
It is to the small saphenous, right?
Marcy? What about the small saphenous? Does that also go into it?
It goes into the popliteal, but it's not formed by the union.
Oh, okay.
So the
Oh,
question
okay,
is,
'cause
it's formed by the union.
Oh, okay.
So yes, it does drain into it. So the three of them drain into the popliteal, but the small saphenous doesn't contribute to the formation of it. So if we go back to this picture, our external jugular drains into the subclavian, but it doesn't form the subclavian, it's just receiving that. Okay, this, whoops. Superior adrenal artery is a branch of
The inferior phrenic.
phrenic. So here's adrenal gland, inferior phrenic, middle phrenic, sorry, inferior adrenal, middle adrenal. Here's the inferior phrenic along the diaphragm. The kidneys are really high there and giving off multiple superior. Name the three branches of the celiac trunk. Left, not colon, gastric. Okay, so here's the celiac trunk. Here's left gastric coming around the end, small curvature of the stomach. Here's splenic going over to the spleen, and common hepatic or hepatic going over to the liver. Okay. Cephalic vein and basilic vein both drain into the,
Antebrachial.
no,
Axillary?
you're going up towards the heart.
Oh, up to the heart.
Axillary.
Axillary.
Okay, so cephalic drains into axillary and basilic drains into axillary. And then just after cephalic empties into it, it becomes subclavian. Inferior brachial junction, right here. That little piece right there. Inferior rectal vein drains into internal pudendal, which then drains into internal ilia. Okay, you know it now.
Yeah, I'm not forgetting that one again.
The portal vein is formed by the union of not inferior,
And the splenic.
superior mesenteric, and coming over from the left side, splenic. Okay, so here's the portal vein, superior mesenteric and splenic come in to form the portal vein. Here's inferior mesenteric draining into splenic.
Radial.
Deep palmar arch is supplied primarily with blood from what artery?
Radial?
Radial artery. Okay, so here's the deep palmar, radial artery coming into deep palmar between the web space. And ulnar does mostly superficial palmar. The hepatic artery is found with what vein? Portal vein. So here we saw this in Tom yesterday. Here's the portal vein, and right beside it, carrying blood, both of them carrying blood into the liver, would be the hepatic artery. And the hepatic veins are leaving the liver up at the superior aspect to go into the inferior vena cava. So we don't have our hepatic vein beside the hepatic artery like we typically do with most other vessels. The fibular artery is a branch of posterior tibial. So here's popliteal, giving off the anterior tibial and the posterior tibial, and here's fibular. Okay, so it's a branch of posterior tibial and a reverse fibular vein drains into posterior tibial. Dorsalis pedis vein drains into
Anterior tibial.
anterior tibial, and actually it is connected to great saphenous, so you should go either way.
Small saphenous.
The lateral aspect of the foot and ankle would be drained by the
Small saphenous.
small saphenous. Okay, so here's some small saphenous starting on the lateral aspect of the foot, goes midline and empties into the popliteal, just on the back of the knee. You guys impressed with how much you've learned already? Okay, so then, as much as doing review, I'm trying to exemplify for you how to think through the questions. Okay? Oh, I saw that one. So here's a table. You'll have a table not exactly like this, but similar to this. It looks scary. But you know a lot of this information. So again, I want to kind of take you through how to think about it. So the directions are, all the changes, any of the changes in column 1 would have what effect on the characteristics or events on column 2. So on the test, you would mark increase, decrease, or no change. Okay? So a decrease in the number of cyclic AMP molecules in the cell would have what effect on the number of open funny channels? Decrease. See how easy that was? No, we only take the test together. Okay. An increase in the cyclic AMP would have what effect on the membrane potential?
Increase.
Would make it increase it in positivity or decrease it?
Oh.
Increase. Okay? An increase in aldosterone is going to do what to venous return? Aldosterone causes sodium ions to be excreted or reabsorbed? Reabsorbed. And where sodium goes, water is sure to follow. Increase venous return. Okay? An increase in end-diastolic volume. Remember what end-diastolic volume is?
The largest
The
one.
amount of volume of blood in the ventricle when the AV valves close. It's going to do what to end systolic volume? It doesn't make the heart pump out more, it just makes the heart pump harder. So we're back to status quo. So yeah, stroke volume would be greater. It does make stroke volume greater, but the same amount of blood is left in the heart. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. We can make the stroke volume even greater with additional norepinephrine or something like that, but if it's just the stretching of the heart wall, that just brings it back to its normal volume it would have had in the first place. Okay?
Is end-systolic always the same?
Pardon?
Is end-systolic volume always the same?
Well, not if we change stroke volume. So if we increase stroke volume, then end-systolic volume will decrease. Okay? Remember the chart I had on the PowerPoint slides yesterday, and I put those modified ones up this morning? So we can have a greater stroke volume and still have the same amount of blood left in the bottom up. We have to add some additional change to that. All right, an increase in the PR interval is going to do what to stroke volume?
Increase it?
Increase ventricular filling, increases stroke volume. Okay? So, it's kind of looking at this from the other side. Again, if I had end-systolic volume, it would be no change. But the stroke volume is going to be greater, because an increase in PR interval is going to result in an increase in end-diastolic volume. Longer period of time for the heart to fill. An increase in norepinephrine will have what effect on intracellular calcium ions?
Increase?
Increase. It opens channels both into the cell and from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. An increase in intracellular calcium ions are going to have what effect on cardiac output then?
Decrease?
No, increase.
An increase. This is going to increase
Heart,
the stroke volume,
and
and with the same heart rate, even if we don't increase heart rate, you're still going to have an increase in cardiac output. A decrease in acetylcholine release is going to have what direct effect on ventricular contractility? None. Good job. Why?
No
There are
receptors.
no receptors. Indirect effect, yes, because an increase in acetylcholine is going to mean a longer rest period, therefore greater filling. But remember I said I want you to answer it for the way the question is written. There are no receptors for acetylcholine on the ventricle contraction. It would change the PR interval, but it's not going to directly affect ventricular contraction. A decrease in stroke volume with an increase in heart rate. Good.
That's not possible.
It's actually one didn't like me for this question this morning. Now, if I only had a decrease in stroke volume, then there would be a decrease in cardiac output. If I only had an increase in heart rate, then there would be an increase in cardiac output. But here both happened. The reason both happen is to keep the status quo. Obviously, they have to happen to the same degree. Okay, so if our heart rate decreases to 50 and our stroke volume increases to 100, cardiac output is still 5 liters. Okay? There's another spelling change I changed, it didn't work. Increase in digitalis. What's it
Decrease?
going to do to intracellular calcium?
Decrease?
Increase.
Hmm.
A decrease in viscosity. What was viscosity? The thickness of the blood. So if we have a decrease in viscosity, that effect would be
decrease.
a decrease in peripheral resistance. And an increase in extracellular potassium ions
Decrease.
is going to decrease, no. Yeah, it's going to decrease conductance. It's going to increase the time. To decrease the conductance. Last thing. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not gone forever. They actually got mad at me this morning when I changed it to, it's like, I'll go back. It's not like I'm completely eliminating the slide. Okay? All right, so last thing up here is a tracing question. And this is what the tracing question